Hello and welcome to a video on the Ciat Lonbarde Plumbutter. So today we will be doing a in-depth video on the lore of the Plumbutter synthesizer, the drum and drama synth, by synth designer and outdoorsman Peter Blasser, who lives in Berlin now. He lived in, I forget where he's from. You know, he lived in Baltimore for a long time. Anyway, this is a Baroque drum machine designed by Peter Blasser, originally to, oh, I didn't even notice there's a fly on this over here. I didn't take this photo, but yeah, anyway, to accompany his band as a free jazz drum machine. So the Plumbutter is described as a Relabi drum machine, if that's how you pronounce that. But the idea of the self-erasing pulse, or the constantly slipping pulse, it's comprised of many parts, but we're going to start from the beginning of this entire journey. A little bit about Ciat Lonbarde.
Ciat Lonbarde.
It's a brand, one of Peter Blasser's brands. The name Ciat Lonbarde comes from a drawing called At the Mall by Peter Blasser that is a list of different stores, fictional stores, or fictional names for stores that didn't exist at the time. And Peter's goal was to create philosophies relating to analog synths and draw circuit diagrams to encapsulate one particular store in this drawing called Ciat Lonbarde. Ciat Lonbarde's instruments are unique and unconventional and are often hand-built, catering to the experimental sound artist and musician. They are known for their organic, tactile interfaces and focus on unpredictability, inviting creative exploration. They sell synthesizers and drum machines made with wood, different types of wood sandwiched together, different types of synth modules sandwiched together. This is the first in a series of instruments. This is the Plumbutter, or the Peter Blasser Plum Bun Peanut Butter. First, this is a drum and drama machine. So what does that mean? There's the drum section and the drama section. The drum is the machinery that forms building materials for buildings. So it's the pulse train that drives the rest of the band. It's the sync or the beat. The different modules, as I go over them, will sort of reflect this drum and drama, or explain this drum and drama. Peter names these different sections: the man gong, the rolz, ultrasound, the deerhorn, and the auto avdog. You can create your own diagram of where you think modules on a drum machine would sit. Are they part of the city, or are they part of the forest? Are they in the middle, in the suburbs? Do the pulses belong to the suburbs and the city? The fast-pacedness, or the repetition, or the rhythm belongs to the city, whereas long gestures of oscillators and long decaying sounds might lead into more mystical environments or more natural or forest environments. Peter Blasser tends to talk about sexuality a lot in his thesis, and calls Eurorack synthesis sexist in that it has definite inputs and outputs. Peter makes the rolz section, which we're going to talk about, which is androgynous nodes. So it's nodes that it doesn't matter how you patch it. You can patch in or out. And a lot of Peter's instruments include this androgynousness. to them, and he has he talks about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee, as Tommy Lee's the hex trigger, or no, Tommy Lee's the flip-flop 4013 IC, whereas Pamela Anderson is the 4016 oscillators, being dramatic versus the drum. And this is another diagram that helps him to sort of talk about the dichotomy between the drum and the drama. So you can use that sort of diagram to connect to different things we already talked about. The connection between nature and the city. How can Peter Blasser's circuits act as metaphors for other processes, specifically the environment? So those diagrams are also sort of an example of how the circuitry can be a metaphor for the two fields of the environment. And that comes with a lot of Peter's instruments. They're designed based off of maybe geography or some organic material or some moment in time in nature that Peter has. Okay, here is the beginning of Peter's journey with the Plumbutter, or with modules for the Plumbutter. It starts as the rollz synth, the rollable synthesizer. What the rollz synth is Peter was sort of fed up with the idea of sitting down at a synthesizer to play it, and wanted something that could be hung as a tapestry with different modules connected to the tapestry. And these different modules provided different things. There were square wave oscillators, triangle wave oscillators, anything you would maybe want from a very simple Baroque modular synthesizer. He explains Urek as the hard versus the Nabra as the soft patching. So these are the modules that are on the Nabra. Were oscillators, low tones, noise, sine waves, squares, triangles, an analog timer counter, pulses, dust, which is also can be a pulse generator or a noise generator. Some of the more notable ones are dust, and the staircase generator, which is similar to the smooth stepped generator on the Surge. And you can see that these modules are just PCBs with all of their traces exposed forward to you to encourage patching with your hands. And that comes from Peter's instruments from 2003 called the synth, or the shit synth, which is sort of derived from the idea of circuit bending, where you can circuit bend the entire synth with your hand by just placing your hand on it. So Design circuits to be able to sort of not have this sacred nature of it being enclosed completely and having inputs and outputs and knobs, but sort of the idea that everything is androgynous and you can play and touch with your hands or with spoons in your mouth to ground you. This sort of turned into the Rolz 5 free jazz drum machine. This was the first sort of synth with different drum modules, and these modules are basically what became the Plumbutter. And still the idea of like a tapestry and playing standing up. So these are walnut pieces on the wall that are patched with either wire or alligator clips. You can see the rolls starting to take place over here. So paper circuits. Peter designed paper circuits as a way to be more environmentally friendly and for to be more DIY rather than ordering a bunch of fiberglass PCBs that are expensive and harmful to the environment. And he made these paper circuits available on his website for anyone to build the Rolz 5 drum machine. And paper circuits are just pieces of paper that you can print out on your 8.5 by 11 inch or A4 paper or whatever, and place your components through and solder on the other side. So Peter designed these circuits to have, when you're designing a paper circuit, you want to make the closest traces between the components that you're putting through. So Peter uses this geometrical idea for the paper circuits rather than so Peter's design philosophy behind his circuits is to be more organic as opposed to maybe something more geometrical, and that allows him to sort of find these smaller traces between things. So when you're connecting and soldering, you're making smaller connections rather than longer ones. And these lead to very interesting geometrical forms that sort of reflect geography. The rolz is the pulse brain. Which is comprised of square wave oscillators that are odd and even. So when you patch the even and odd rolls together, it creates spirals in pulses. There's even and odd multi-vibrators that produce ultrasonic chaos. And these are the androgynous nodes that can be patched inward and outward. But Peter was looking for instability in this drum machine. So with the Rolz 5, the rolz was this source of unstable pulses that can also produce ultrasonic chaos. The ultrasound filters is used to analyze the rolls and amplify the ultrasonic qualities of the rolls pulses to an audible level. The gongs is used as a resonator for the drum machine. So the gongs takes a pulse from the rolz and waits and then hits the gong like a gamelan gong player. Gongs was an old concept from Peter. The avdog talks about squishiness in synthesizers. The idea of squishable synthesizers was really attractive to Peter as another gesture of interacting with the synth. The avdog was a paper circuit that Peter put out that was kind of like DJ decks, where you have a hard on switch and a soft on switch, and you have your squishes that control the volume of your two inputs and then gives you an output. So it's another, and it uses piezos to do that. And then the auto avdog takes pulses from the rolz and gives you this undulating auto squish. Peter makes other squishable synthesizers such as the sidrax and tetrax and quadrax organ.
This is called the Citrazi Organist. It is built by Peter Blazer out of Baltimore, Maryland. It's an analog synthesizer with 7 oscillators, each representing a chakra of the human energy system. Each one of these keys has a pressure sensor underneath each one, piezo sensor, and the circuit board itself is laid out with sacred geometry, so when you play it, you're forming mandalas. And these little screws on top here basically connect random parts of the circuits to others, so basically you're circuit bending it at the fly. There's randomizers to set the pitch of each one of the keys, and I got it sent to a guitar modeler to give it a little bit of distortion so it sounds like a guitar. But
So I built the Rolz 5 drum machine first as my first Ciat Lonbarde project, and I built it very wrong, but here are examples of mine. And then this is my second Rolz 5 build that has some modifications to it. So then, after the Rolz 5 was the rolz gewei, which introduced a new gesture called the deerhorn. Which was a theremin, an antenna with 2 oscillators. It plays one pitch as you move close to the antenna and another pitch as you move away, with FM inputs for the frequency of the oscillator and control voltage outputs. And you can choose the pitch of the oscillators as you play it. The rolz gewei was the first sort of encapsulated drum machine since the Rolz 5, and it has a rolz section and your gongs, your avdogs, and your ultrasound filters. So this was meant to be patched as like a synthesizer standalone, and I think he made about 5 of these, which was someone asked him to do a commission that was the Rolz 5 with the 2 deerhorns that he had already been prototyping and performing in places and doing exhibitions with. So you can see in this photo the rolz gewei PCB in the center and the 2 deerhorn circuits on the side as the antenna. This is what the paper circuit version of the rolz gewei looks like. And this is the PCBs for the rolz gewei. basically is a city or culmination of different circuits into a new geography that creates. And the deerhorn is definitely drama with the gesture in which you play it and the quality of sound that comes from it, in my opinion. The deerhorn is meant to be an ethereal connection through air and your synth. So, the Paulownia gewei is the first iteration of this version of the deerhorn circuit. Paulownia wood is the traditional wood used to make kyotos, and Peter was studying East Asian studies, I believe, and wanted to create this radio instrument into a kyoto to be played as something where your two hands are above antennas at all times. So as you play the instrument, it reflects the radio frequencies. So that became the radio zither kyoto. And you can see the two aluminum circles at the end are antenna. So as you play the instrument, it reflects radio outwards. The Trim Triangle was a collection of 3 triangle radio circuits with tube amplifiers and a CRT tube oscilloscope that was meant to transmit radio into AM, and you would listen to this through the AM band on your radio. And the deerhorn. So the deerhorn has taken many forms in terms of geography, mainly where they're from. There is the Baltimore deerhorn, the Providence deerhorn, the Berlin deerhorn, and the Moon deerhorn. And these are all iterations of paper circuits of this radio instrument. The Providence deerhorn is instead of 2 oscillators, it excites a resonator. And you can see how his circuits are sort of coming together. So the deerhorn was kind of married to the rest of the Plumbutter or the rolz 5 or the gewei as a gesture to sort of bring out the forest of the deerhorn. The forest of the Plumbutter, or the ethereal nature of the drum machine, the singer, if you will, of the band. The deerhorn is its own thing now that you can purchase as a Ciat Lonbarde instrument. So the difference between the rolz gewei, the rolz 5, and the Plumbutter is that Peter kind of gave in to the androgynous nodes and wanted CV inputs and CV outputs for things on the Plumbutter. So the gongs became the Gong Studio, and the avdogs became the avdog Studio, which introduced CV for pitch for both, and a control voltage output from the exciter of the avdogs and the resonance envelope of the gongs. And for a very short period of time, the Plumbutter was the labrolz, or the laboratory rolz, but it's basically the same exact thing as the Plumbutter. This is the Plumbutter V1, and the only difference really is they're pretty much the same exact thing, the Plumbutter V1 and V2, aside from some obvious cosmetic things, and inputs for the man with the red steam, which is the sequencer, to input pulses and delete pulses. For the gong, the falling ramp is wait time. For the avdog, the resonance of the beat, and the deerhorn is the voltage that affects movement by hand. So these are your main gestures with the Plumbutter. The Plumbutter layout was meant to sort of be that you can flip it and have two Plumbutters, but Peter was like, this is too long of an instrument. The man with the red steam is the Tommy Lee 4013 steam engine, modeled off the U.S. patent 3913097 sound simulator for model steam engine. It's used as the heat chaos or the smokestacks in the city that represent the snare. The Man with the Red Steam was not released as a paper circuit, but this is a paper circuit designed by Josh, who has been very active in the Ciat Lonbarde DIY community in recreating a lot of circuits as paper versions for people to continue the sort of gray market of Peter Blasser's instruments. The Man with the Red Steam is a CMOS style sequencer with a shift register where you input bits or delete bits, and then it sequences through these bits. It's similar to a Lunetta CMOS sequencer or the double knot, or the double knot, the double knot, double knot. Yeah, that's it. Apparently. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Hopefully the next one will be better. I want to do Coco Quantus next. I think would be fun. Probably will end up overdubbing a lot of this. Thank you.